seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk, everyone. I'm AJ Walsh. Happy to be with you here this morning. Joined with by two guests today, which we've done it a couple times. I think we had as many as four of us chatting at the most before, just one time. I think we had three people, maybe twice. And then so this would be probably the third. So it's not that often that we do that, but it was part of the plan to do it. And then here we are as we've started the show back in March, Sudbury News Talk on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio and online at cklu.ca. Also Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News and YouTube Live at youtube.com/Sudbury News. We've been doing this since March, and we have someone on this morning who basically started the show with me, and then someone that we've been working on multiple podcast ideas with and working together in the studio. So we have them both on this morning. So first of all, Zach, let's see if we got you rolling along here with your mic. How can we hear you?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me.
Yeah, you know what? I do. I hear you. And you're looking mighty fine, I might say.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
There's a bit of a delay in the...
Feeling good.
Yeah, for sure. And you looking good too, feeling good. I know you have a new addition to your family, so that's really exciting. It's not every day, it's not every day that we have, the opportunity to welcome a new person into the family, but congratulations on that. So yeah, public congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to fire on all cylinders, but yeah, last night was one of the rougher ones. So yeah, I'll try my best.
Are you getting any sleep? That's what I want to know. So you kind of alluded to it a bit.
Yeah, most nights it's pretty good, but I'm sure any parent would attest that, every day is a new experience. So last night was not a very good night.
No.
And luckily my wife is able to carry a lot of the burden because I'm working like most days 8 to 5. So getting up around 6:30 to go to work is when you've been up 2 or 3 times, it's pretty tough.
It is, yeah. No, and you're bringing me memories are flowing back into my younger life, and so sometimes it's yeah. So I you know what? It'll all pay off in the end. You just give it your all. It'll all pay off in the end. That's all I got to say. Keep with it.
Thank
so
you.
congratulations.
Yeah, happy to be back on the show. You kind of alluded to, but it's been a while, and yeah, just looking forward to contributing just for the first segment, obviously, but looking forward to it. Yeah,
no problem. Thanks for being here, Zach. And then also we're joined by Pierre Benham, who's been with us pretty much again since the beginning because we were working on your podcast through our studio, right, Pierre? And then I said, hey, you should just come on this show as well because obviously you're from Sudbury, you're well connected, and you know quite a bit to do with Sudbury, and that's what we talk about here.
I think I know, yeah.
I think I know.
Good to be here. Nice.
Yeah. No, Pierre Benham, great member of the community. Family's been, here for many years and involved in the community, not only the community, but internationally as well. So your family does a good job of spreading Sudbury abroad in many different ways, right? So, yeah.
Them anyway, or all over the place doing some cool things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like basically going down memory lane from the beginning of Sudbury News. Its beginnings, it just started as a concept, but Zach was pretty integral in the getting this off the ground because we were talking about it, and then one day Zach just called me up and said, let's do this thing. Let's just get this thing going. So he ramped it up, like everything had to get plugged in, and then we were buying equipment and stuff, but then everything got troubleshooted, and then before you knew it, we were right on the air. And so That's pretty much to do with Zach and his tenaciousness getting things off the ground. So thank you for that.
I don't know. I don't know. Tenaciousness. I'm searching for the right word. Maybe pugnacity. Like I don't let small things like stop me. I
No.
think that sometimes when like when you're working in a startup environment, because that's really what it was, uh, you almost I recharge off of difficult things. Like that tells me I'm on the right track if I'm meeting a bunch of resistance,
Hmm.
which isn't always true. Sometimes you're just doing things wrong. But I get this weird satisfaction when you run into resistance, especially in the beginning stages. So it just kind of fuels me even more.
Yeah.
That's what happened on this show.
Well, we are the beneficiary of that characteristic that you have, so we really appreciate that, and it really did help. And yes, challenges sometimes there's a satisfaction of overcoming them, and that kind of gets us right into the topic. You know, we've been talking about the election coming up, October 24th in Sudbury. Many elections going on, municipal ones, and they vary in terms of when they go ahead, but they're all in October pretty much, and across the North Channel the North Shore, and including Sudbury and many other municipalities. But we're mainly talking about Sudbury here. And so October 24th is the election. They have a couple mayoral debates going on, and we're going to try and keep our finger on the pulse. But I wanted to know both of your perspectives on what do you figure the top, priorities are from what you're hearing from people and what you feel are the top priorities that that these candidates and once they're elected, mayor and councillors are going to have to be focusing on in the city. Let's start with you, Pierre, and then we'll get to Zach.
That is such a tough one. Everybody has different opinions. Everybody has different needs. But the one thing that I think is common to everyone I talk to is change. So sort of, I guess, vision and change. So, things like potholes and all those details, I think everybody's going to have solutions to different problems. But I think there's an underlying lack of vision, and I think that points to an underlying lack of values, the people that are there. There's no sort of meta, sort of guiding core set of beliefs that are good. I think they're pragmatic or opportunist. That's kind of my assessment. And people who speak at a more philosophical or more visionary level tend to do great things. And people who are pragmatists and just kind of solving little problems tend to be petty and power hungry. And that's kind of how I'm approaching this right now. I don't have an opinion yet on who. I'm sort of looking at them, and they all look great on paper in different ways, and they all have catchy slogans. So I don't know yet. Miranda is interesting because she's definitely coming out of left field, and her thing is bringing civility to council. And even if she may not have experience at running $1 billion budget, I think really that the mayor is the host of that circus, and the person hosting it right now, it just doesn't have the gravitas to do it. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. Paul Lefebvre, I know him personally, very nice man. He's owned businesses. He's a family man. He's been in politics, but I don't think he's a politician, but he's a businessman who's been in politics. So I don't not trust him. I don't know how visionary he's going to be, because once you're in that system, you're in the web, and it's really hard to resist. And then there's also the bureaucrats in there. There's power with no vision. So I don't know what to do about that. To me, that's sweep it all and clean it up, but that's a whole other philosophical discussion. So that's where I'm coming from. That's how I was speaking with a woman the other day, and I totally forget her name. She's running. I was dog sitting and over in South End, and she knocked at the door. Oh, what's her name? I'll dig it up. Really smart, very nice, and she was definitely thinking at a higher level. And I think a lot of the people, same with even Jordan Darrow. Jordan Darrow. I talked to him on the street one time. So people want change, and they're just looking at things sort of from the outside now and going, it's something has to change. So I think that's a good start. And all the details, icing roads and fixing potholes, I don't know. That's always going to be an issue, and it's everyone has a solution. But I think there needs to be core values, and if they don't have them, then they're just another, shady politician.
Yeah.
So that's my view with everything now with people too. I'm just kind of through COVID, you really saw people's core, what they really stand for or don't, and I think that's kind of how I see things now.
Well,
That's where I'm at.
Well said. You said a lot of kind of clear things. They need the vision. They need to think outside the box. And then you talked about the bureaucrats as well in the city. So a lot of times nothing will change. But I know Natalie's been commenting, and we can't really get the comments up on the screen again today. I have to see what's going on with my studio here and that problem. But Natalie says Tenacious Z could be a good name for Zach. Tenacious Z. I thought that was rather funny. And
funny.
She also says it doesn't have to be a circus city council, which I agree on as well. It could be, a lot of really good leaders working together and with vision and moving the city forward. But I don't want to steal your thunder, Tenacious Z. Zach, what are some of your thoughts on the
I
election?
don't know if I'll be able to add too much to Pierre because that was pretty comprehensive, and I would say I'm probably at the median level of informed in politics. That's kind of where I like to be. I like to be lukewarm about issues. I like to be lukewarm about candidates and things. But what I will say, and what I can contribute, is if you're going purely off of the lawn signs, this election would look. I'm just predicting. I'm going to make a prophecy. This election would look very different than what the lawn signs say. For instance, I believe it's Evelyn Dutrasac is just like a sign monster. She has signs everywhere. And if you were to go purely on that, Brian Bigger wouldn't even be like a top three. And Paul Lefebvre wouldn't even be a top three. Because just, like I said, I don't know. Some people are very visual. I'm pretty visual. And what I notice as I'm driving all around the city is Evelyn has really been putting in some footwork, because the signs, if you talk to, someone I met recently did signs for the Liberal Party for years, probably 30 years. And he was convinced that was the most important thing about politics because that was what he did. And I think there's a kernel of truth there. And Pierre kind of said, this is the issue a lot of people are worried about. That's kind of the game with politics, is you need to find what the most important thing is and then speak to that. Because the politician that says, well, it's kind of ironic. The non-politician that tries to be a politician says, I will just do whatever's important to you, never gets in. So it's too theoretical. You almost need to find the pain point like a salesman and then just push on that pain point, right? And, like I see signs for one of our favorite candidates, I think he was the first to announce, was Bob Johnston. And he is great with the signs too. But again, his pain point is Brian Bigger. So like that's the point that he's decided to push on, is that people don't like Brian Bigger. And again, if we were just go off from what my lukewarm opinion, I don't think people necessarily hate Brian Bigger. I think they don't know too much about him. I don't know too much about him. We hear a lot about what's going on, this issue, but him as a person, that's not the strategy I would go for, because I don't really feel one way about him. That's kind of my opinion. We have a lot of kind of lukewarm candidates, but if you're going to purely on the science, I think Evelyn Dutrasac has a pretty good shot.
I like that because it brings to mind, like, we could almost have a checklist of how we thought the candidates did, and I think signs would be one of those things on a checklist, right? Okay, who won the sign war kind of thing in whatever ward or for mayor, and then who had the clearest message, let's say, who had the clearest points, who resonated the most with candidates, just from our perspective, just to give them a little bit of a report card kind of thing. Now, we lost your video for some reason, Zach, so I'm not sure why, but
I don't know if you could still hear me.
I can still hear you though. Yeah.
Technical issue.
No problem. You're back. So go ahead, Pierre.
Oh, I think it would be really interesting to do. I don't know how I guess you could figure it out. To do like an after action review of sort of correlating between, like tracking campaign signs and stuff, and seeing who actually wins. I wonder if there's data for that, because I mean, the campaign offices will know exactly how many signs they bought, so and how many people were delivered. But so it'd be really interesting to see if there is. Because what's the thing in marketing where I forget how many images you have to see of a thing before it registers and then you're buying it. I don't know. You might know that, Aaron, in your training, but I think I agree. I think the signs, that's what people talk about, right? That's all they see. They don't watch the news. Most people just don't. They don't pay attention. So they're like, I like the guy with the whatever,
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of people that will vote just because they've seen the sign the most or whatever, because they're at the polls. They didn't read, they didn't look, they didn't research. They're just like, oh yeah, that's the persons I saw the most. They must be the best or whatever. And so I think there is a large segment of the population now, whether it's the largest and it will make sure you get in or not, we don't know. And then there's certain demographics that vote and some that don't as well, right? So if you target certain demographics that faithfully vote time after time, and you kind of forget some of the ones that don't vote, even though they have needs as well, but that demographic may not vote. So why would you really spend a lot of time there, kind of thing? And I do like Bob. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think they're to encourage people to vote. I think to get more engagement. I mean, it sounds pretty crass or whatever, but I don't know. I think you should, if you get a vote, if you have a voting receipt, you should get some kind of tax break or something, or free parking downtown for a year. I don't know, something to get people, and maybe a little test before you vote, maybe 5 questions that if you can't answer these, then you need to do some research before you vote. That sounds a bit crazy, but
I don't think so. I think Zach mentioned that very thing at some point on a previous show. Or am I wrong on that, Zach?
Well, the crazy thing is, it's very easy to manipulate people to get them to do what you want to do. That's what marketing is all based on. Marketing is not a hammer; it's a carrot and a stick. And that's the kind of stuff that I fell in love with. That's why I ended up studying marketing at school. It's because it's really subtle. A lot of these things, like in Australia, they have a penalty for not voting. It's only like around 100 Australian dollars.
Wow.
But something that small pushes, instead of 30-60 that vote, it's 60-30 in Australia, or much higher. I think in some areas it's as high as like in the 90s people vote. So it's very, very active voter base just from that one small change. You could apply that principle to politics broadly and say very, very small changes can encourage big change, like overall, right? Because that's what society is. It's like an amalgamation of tiny little interactions between people. And when I go downtown or anywhere in the downtown core area, I'm becoming more mindful of every little interaction I have with people, and then recording that as a positive, or trying to record that on the ledger of life as a positive interaction, because that's how society is built up in a good way. Is from little positive interactions. It's very rare that you can make broad stroke changes to like an entire city or an entire, just with the stroke of a pen or some small change. This is why our candidate, our very own Gatchel candidate, Miranda Truchellia, was on the show, really spoke to me, because she understands that principle of like the interpersonal really affects the super personal. And if you want to change the city, you have to change individual connections.
And that's similar to what Natalie is saying here. She's running Ward 7 for city council, and she said basically she believes that the you get the most votes for talking to people on their doorsteps. Like, it's the interactions, it's hearing them and talking with them. That's where you get the most votes. So that's been her experience, and that's her strategy, and she feels that's what's gonna win it for her. So again, a little bit along the lines of what Zach said. Now, a slogan isn't bad, and I think Bob Johnston stole my slogan because I was thinking Bob Johnston, he should say, I was thinking bigger's not better or whatever, something like that. And that's
not better.
And that's exactly what he used. So I
not bigger, but better.
Not bigger, but better.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it.
Love it.
From
a marketing.
Got a chuckle out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people love it. My brother was like, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
The idea, what you said there, the ledger of life, and that's a really neat concept of kind of small incremental change. And I think interpersonally as well, just as a human being, I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Atomic Habits. It's a brilliant, life-changing book. And the idea of 1% change a day in your life. So say you're trying to eat better, just, you can quantify it, and then you can tiny tweaks and improvements, right? So it's a Japanese concept as well in business. So you just slowly improve things in a small way, but you have a very, very strong overriding guiding principle with a long-term intention. So if you use that sort of for personally, and then it zooms out into your family and then into your community. So then if you're a mayor or a councillor, so for example, what Natalie's saying, she knows that 5 interactions a day on the street having coffee downtown is way more impactful than going and ranting on Facebook about how bad Brian Bigger is, because it's going to affect someone emotionally and intellectually, right? Whereas the kind of standard marketing politics is fear and emotion. It's just like, what are you angry about and what are you afraid of? That's it. That's all worse, but we're getting there too. So instead of that, it's like, never mind what's behind you. Just, okay, how can I build? What can I build with you? Oh, you have a storefront downtown that has, someone keeps kicking in your window. All right, then let's figure out, okay, what's the cause? Okay, obviously there's addiction and homelessness. Okay, but how can we deal with safety on the street? Well, the number one way to make a downtown street safer is you have more people. How do you bring more people there? So it's a chicken and egg, right? So people living above the businesses, people shopping, whatever it is. So there's small little things that you can do, and I like that. I like that idea, ledger of life. That's a good concept.
And Zach brought up downtown, right? Doing it downtown. That's where a lot of the issues from Sudbury, a lot of people complain about, downtown, people downtown, what they experience. And instead of like complaining about it, Zach's just saying he's simple, positive conversations with individuals one at a time. And I think that's a really great strategy, actually, if you're going to contribute to the positiveness of change in a city. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. I know both of you have to go. I know that. So I want to give you an opportunity to be able to do that. We're going to be talking about the city's master plan for downtown, along with the safe consumption site is just opening today. So when you guys are gone, that's what we're going to be talking about afterwards.
I can actually stay 15 more minutes. I just got a little text here, so I'm good if you want.
Now use that.
I wish I could say the same.
I kind of figured, yeah.
But just to conclude, love that book, Atomic Habits. It's a great, like if you were looking for a North Star to kind of guide your system of how you want to construct your life, I think it's a pretty good secular system. Just like all things, like I said, I'm lukewarm. It's important not to go too far. And a big part of the book is like to establish really good systems. And I think a really fun part of life is exiting your system too. So as long as you remember that, life is also to be enjoyed, and accomplishment is just one flavor of life. But yeah, really great book and really good principles in there. Highly recommend it. I mean, you could probably pick up an ebook of it for a few bucks, and a lot of people have said it's been life changing. So yeah, but that's gonna do it for me.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna do just these 15 minutes. Hopefully that made an impact. But I'll be back on tomorrow, and looking forward to talking to you then.
Looking forward to it, Zach. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. Much love. Thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay, that was Zach Ireland, and he was with us since the beginning of the show, basically. I switched where you were.
Yeah, I'm good till like, I have a call at 8:15, so I'm good till like 8:12. How's that?
8:12 it is. I'll leave that up to you because that means it gives us 11 minutes, and I think that's
All right.
enough to kind of go through what we need to go through. We talked about downtown, and that's a huge issue I think in this election. A lot of people don't feel comfortable going downtown, is what I'm hearing, and they noticed increase in crime and increase in people that they don't feel comfortable being around, like they feel kind of threatened, their safety's at stake downtown. But Councillor McGoslin of Ward 4 basically says that at the next incarnation of council, after October 24th, they'll have to decide whether to proceed with the downtown master plan update, referred to as quote unquote necessary by McGoslin. So he brought that up during Monday's planning committee meeting of City Council. An update of the city's long-term downtown strategic plan will be on the table during the 2023 budget deliberations. The planning committee was unanimously Monday in urging city administration to proceed with a business case for future council's consideration, with much having changed since the original downtown master plan. Obviously, that was like 10 years ago. So various points of progress are included in this week's report of the downtown master plan status, which Sudbury.com reported on last week, and we did cover that. And that's where this story is coming from as well, from their Good Morning segment, Stories to Start Your Day. During Monday's meeting, the report's author, city planner Ed Landry, cited the City Council's approval of the Jordan East Cultural Hub, an incarnation of which was mentioned in the original downtown master plan, as offering ample grounds alone for updating the plan. Oh, I think that's a really interesting observation by Ed Landry, because according to what I can see, they've already started a lot of the construction work downtown, right beside the Sudbury Theatre Center, for some of the gas infrastructure for that Junction East project. It looks like they're just going ahead. You know what I mean? Like we don't usually see in the city. We usually see things taking a long time. It's over, well over talked about, and all kinds of concerns, and things don't get done fast. But it looks like with this, they're really chomping at the bit to get this thing built.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's generally they certainly don't move fast. What I see is, like, why are we using a 10-year-old master plan? This makes no sense.
No.
I don't understand. Everything in the world is different. So why are we even referring to this document? This should be a 5-page document that gets revised every year. And then within that document, you click on, you go down specific topic rabbit holes, and then there's expertise there that's ongoing. This whole idea of a master plan, this sort of central planning, it's like this weird Soviet concept of, like, we have 20 highly paid consultants who will spend 18 months thinking about your problems, and then we'll give you 400-page document that no one will ever read, and it'll sit on your shelf, literally, and they probably paid, $1.5 million to have this thing drawn up. By the time it's printed, it's irrelevant. It just doesn't make sense to me, So, like, there's concepts in it that are important. Obviously, we need these institutions, these anchor buildings, and these big projects, but there has to be fine-grained, interventions that are like something very simple, like that Kyle's doing downtown with the BIA. So I don't know if you've noticed, he's put out some park benches with sort of tables in front of different areas to liven up. Okay, so there's criticism about who's using them, but the idea behind it is very, very simple. Just unload a truck. They're not even expensive, fancy things. It's just like food court tables sitting, like one of my friends has a building on Lisgar. There's one in front of his house. He's mixed feelings about it because people, we've got pictures of people, sitting there in drugs. But then there's also a couple of times when there was a family sitting there having coffee from Cup of Joe. They were just sitting there. That's a tiny little thing. That's not in the master plan. If that were in a master plan, it would take 3 years to get that approved. Same with the COVID patios. Those were only a reaction to the indoor restrictions. Now it's permanent. It works. It's like a simple thing. We didn't rely on this document. There needs to be a different way of thinking about this. Like a long-term master plan, economic development, all that stuff. They got to revisit that all the time, and it's not this fixed thing.
No, and you know as well as that I belong to an organization where we help people launch their businesses, and we taught them business plans, how to build a business plan, and we walked through it with them. And the idea of a business plan, the organization I work for launched over 1,000 local businesses with an 80% success rate over a 20-year span. And we taught about business plans in exactly like you said. It's a living document. And I don't think, a master plan for downtown is any different than a business plan of a business. And I think we had a little bit of a debate yesterday whether the city should be run like a business or not. Someone said the city's not a business. It's more of a social construct and all these things, but it's more of government is not a business. But yet, so again, it's open for debate, but the way I would look at it, it is a business. And so many things are similar to it. Like you have to be fiscally responsible, or what ends up happening, you go bankrupt. Cities can go bankrupt. Look at Detroit and many other cities in the United States, and look at our university here. Many would say that's not a business. It's a school. But it went bankrupt because they didn't look at it like a business. And so that's what ends up happening. And
the idea of oversight and accountability, we can go down the Laurentian rabbit hole for hours, but the number one question everybody says is, how did this happen and who let it happen? There's just zero accountability. And that's the fundamental flaw of the kind of technocrat central planners. It's anonymous, unaccountable, and way more powerful than it should be. There should be accountability. It should be like, every 3 months, all right, let's sit down, open the books. What do you got? What do you mean there's 80,000 missing? Or that's how it should be. That's how it is in business. You meet your bookkeeper or your accountant. You can't go 3 months without being checked. You'll crumble, right? We think we have that at council, but that's theater. It's theater. I think too with the downtown, a lot of cities have. We treat downtown like just another district, another ward. I think all of the other councillors should represent downtown. It's the heartbeat of the city, like it or not, whether you go there or not. It's fundamentally the heartbeat of the city. That dies, and then the city turns into a donut, like Detroit. If everyone had a stake in it, I think it would be, you'd see more action,
Yeah, to me, it's as simple as with technology today of having a website where anyone in the city can access any question they have about any of where the funds are going, and it's all just transparent. And you go on, you log on, you search, okay, how much money was spent on roads or is budgeted, and then how much was actually spent. And the books are basically open for the community to just log on and look at. Like, isn't that really the way it should be? Like, aren't we taxpayers? Isn't it our money? If you look at it that way.
Enough expertise. Trust me. I have the degree in business. Trust me. You don't know enough. You stay out of it. Stay over there. Just vote for me.
Well, even
That's
though,
the attitude.
yeah, but even if that is the attitude, like still being transparent, still doesn't take away. Like I might not have a say. Like I'll look at it, and sure, I have one voice or whatever. I can vote and whatever, and I don't have to be the one making the decisions. But I should still know. I should still be aware of what's going on, and like you said, it shouldn't be kind of in the shadows, kind of thing.
No, absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah, but it's finding a way to structure accountability and to build it into the system, so people are more engaged and more involved.
Now I know you have to go. But one last thing: the safe injection site will be opening today, and we'll be talking a little bit about that after you're gone. Do you know if that was part of the 10-year master plan or not, to have a safe injection site located downtown?
I don't know, but I'm going to doubt it. I think Actually, that's an interesting example, an interesting question. I'm gonna bet it was not in the master plan ever, because 10 years ago the issues were different. Again, proving my point. But uh, love it or hate it, that is a response to a very, very serious problem, right? It's a pretty it's a drastic response in for some people. I can see the benefit of it. I understand both sides, but overall, I would sway that it's harm reduction. That's the number. That's the starting point. It's preventing people from dying. So
Yeah.
if you agree that we should save lives, then you're not 100% opposed to this. The rest of it, we can debate the details. In terms of the master plan, imagine if that's in a master plan. I'm going to look that up after. That
Yeah.
would be a really interesting. I think they probably have something about wellness and about safety and health, and it would probably be a tangent of that. And it's a short-term solution, right? There's way bigger issues going on there, but that's for the experts there, I guess.
Yeah, we did talk about that
I,
on the show before, and it was like, this is a starting point. So we're not saying it's a bad thing per se. It's just not this total solution. I think it's part of a piece of a puzzle of a whole solution.
we got homelessness, we got housing, we have mental health, we have drug cartels, we have corruption at a very high level. It's directly linked. We know this now. This stuff's very transparent. It's the original problem here. The opioid issue is directly linked to organized crime and global crime. It's not an accident. It's not just people needed drugs. It was pushed on people 10 years ago, and there's a few families that made hundreds of billions of dollars that are hiding all that money in Switzerland now. And then we're seeing, how many deaths do we have in Sudbury alone? 250, whatever. And every small town, every town in North America is dealing with this right now.
Yeah, it's a global epidemic, and worse than the pandemic as far as I'm concerned. Now, Patrick had a comment on here, but it's gone now, so he must have taken it off. But he was talking about the mayor, a lot of the corruption, like the mayor can't even do anything about that corruption. He's very kind of doesn't have all that much power. But you alluded to how big it could be, and how one mayor can't really solve that. It's going to take a group effort, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger, and that's why you have to have, going right back to our first segment there. That's why you have to, the core values have to guide you, and that has to filter through right down to the admin person at the desk at City Hall.
Yep.
If those core values are not in that person, if they're just looking at the clock at 4:25 and they're angry at the person who needs help, that's not how you make a city better. That's fundamentally what it is. If the janitor walks past a Kleenex on the floor in City Hall at 4:30 because they're going, their core values are misaligned. They should not be there.
Good point.
That's my. Yeah, I got to run.
Thanks, Pierre. You left with a very good point. I appreciate that. We'll see you very soon. Thanks for being on today. Have a wonderful day, my friend.
Be in touch. Take care, buddy.
Okay, you too. Ciao. That was Pierre Benum, and that's, I guess, it just went to what we're covering here on Sudbury News Talk, CKLU 96.7 FM. Thanks for all of your comments so far. I know Miles just had a good one here about the financial auditor's job is to kind of to keep everyone accountable. And I was talking about transparency. We should just have everything out on a website so we can just check out where our money's going, how much is coming in, all of that stuff. So it's apparent, but I guess the Auditor General is supposed to look into that for us and keep us apprised of to what's going on and keep everybody accountable. Although I don't think that has been happening, obviously, and I don't know what we can do to change that. Again, one of my solutions was just to have it all on the website. Just why does it need to be secret how much we spend on something? Oh yeah, one thing I was going to talk about with Zach and Pierre, and maybe I'll bring it up with Zach again tomorrow, was the fact that 43% of the money of our budget goes to human resources, basically to salaries and payroll and benefits and things to do with employees of the city. and that's very, very high. And anyways, so that would be included as a cost to the city. Very apparent for someone to look at it. And then you'd have really astute business people in town who have an interest in the city and how things are run. They would look at that, and a lot of people would go, you know what? That just doesn't look right, because this is what could happen in the future. And for someone just catching that on the outer circle and not as part of the inner circle, and would catch that and then would inform somebody, maybe it was an oversight, or maybe there is some corruption, and maybe that would exclude some of the corruption from happening if everything was transparent. But obviously we know it's not transparent. It's not transparent for a reason. Not sure all the reasons. I just know it's not all that easy to find out how much money's coming in and where the money's going out. Most people don't know we have a city auditor general. Yeah, it's correct. I did not know that. And you had said that Brian Bigger was that previously, Miles. So I remember that comment yesterday. Safe consumption site opens today. We just talked about that with Pierre a little bit. Though administrative delays have kept the doors closed thus far, the Sudbury supervised consumption site, called The Spot, La Place, Minagabi, so it's got English, French, and Aboriginal or Ojibwe, will be opening. And I'm sorry I slaughtered that for anybody. I'm just not on the fly able to read different languages all that great. It'll be opening today, in June 2020. Public Health Sudbury and districts completed a study to determine the, quote, need for a feasibility of implementing supervised consumption services in the city of Greater Sudbury. The city's drug-related rate has been the highest per capita in the province for years now. Earlier this year, in May, PHSD revealed that more than 100 people had died from opioid-related overdoses in 2021. And Sudbury continued to have the highest per capita death rate. In May 2021, City Council voted unanimously in favor of these services. And in June that year, Council selected the property off Energy Court to be the designated location for a temporary supervised consumption site. The facility received no provincial funding, but has received $1 million and a bit of funding from the city, as well as $100,000 from Valet, $30,000 from Wheaton. A ribbon cutting ceremony was held July the 21st, but the site did not open its doors to clients. Though staffing issues were the initial holdup, there were also delays based on government approvals, including, quote unquote, Ministry of Labor and Building permits. Said Heidi, the executive director of the Access Network, the organization that runs the site. You can read more about that on Sudbury.com on their website. The full story is there. That's basically the gist of it. On some not so greedy news, I guess you can say, or whatever. Seems to be 50th anniversary all around for everything, including the Sudbury Wolves, which we'll have a little segment at the end of the show. They're starting their season, the regular season. They just finished preseason. But along with the Sudbury Wolves being 50 years old this year, city buses are also celebrating their 50th year of local public transit. I guess it was a big year back in 1971, 72, 73, in that era. In celebration of 50 years of public transit service, the city of Greater Sudbury is offering people free bus rides throughout the city today. So if you need to take a bus, this is the day to do it. Gova Transit has played an important role in our community over the past 50 years. Mayor Brian Bigger said in a media release issued by the city, quote, "It has helped the city get to where they need to be safely and efficiently, whether that's work, school, appointments, or recreation opportunities. As our community grows, transit continues to evolve to meet the changing needs of riders." End of quote. Years after being privately operated, local transit services were taken over by the Community Services Department, and then the city of Sudbury in 1972. Sudbury Transit operated between 1972 and 2000. Greater Sudbury Transit operated from 2000 to 2019, after which it became GOVA. So anyways, it's kind of like when a business, goes bankrupt or whatever, they can just change the name of a business, or it's basically the same service, just operated by a few different organizations, and now the latest has been GOVA. But I guess officially it was deemed the city bus since 1972. Free bus rides today, everyone. Should be the headline. And covered that story yesterday. So yeah, let's get to a little bit of sports news here. The Sudbury Wolves are starting the regular season. So we'll be back right after this. So as promised, didn't mean to do that. So we're going to do this. And here you go. Media release from the Sudbury Wolves. It is their 50th year anniversary, 1972-2022. Sudbury Wolves are back and set to embark on their 50th anniversary season of Wolves hockey. Sudbury Wolves will open their 2022-23 regular season campaign by welcoming division rivals Barrie Colts to the arena Friday night. Puck drop at 7:05. The Wolves finished their preseason with a winning record of 3 wins, 2 losses, no ties. And with a number of Wolves leading the league in several categories. Goaltender Joe Ranger led the league through preseason with 2 shutouts and sits second in save percentage. Michael Durbridge ranks second in the league for most goals, and that's 5. So again, it's the preseason. It's nothing to, have a parade about or anything, but at the same time, it's kind of exciting. They've done some, they started the season off pretty well. They're good preseason. Oh, just to go back a bit here on Miles' comment about GOVA, it says that, their ridership is quite low, actually. And I've heard that from a few people, that the ridership is low, but that they need it, obviously, for people that need the service. Now, back to the Wolves. The Wolves shift their focus to opening the regular season this Friday against the Barrie Colts, who finished the preseason with a record 4-1-0-1. So they had one more win than the Wolves. So it's going to be a good matchup. Friday's game sponsored by Desjardins, who will be on hand with prizes and giveaways to lucky fans. It's also the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, so make sure to wear your orange shirt in support of that day. So they're in partnership with the Friendship Center and the Native Health Center, and they'll be holding a pregame ceremony to acknowledge this day as we collectively navigate the truth on our shared healing journey. We encourage all fans to wear orange shirts to this game in support as we help light the city in orange on Friday. So it should be exciting hockey at the arena Friday night. Looking forward to that. Sudbury Wolves tickets are now on sale. greatersudbury.ca/tickets. And at the Sudbury Arena box office. Sudbury Arena box office will be open Monday to Thursday. This is important to know when it's open. Monday to Thursday from noon until 4. And Friday from 9 until the end of the second intermission. So it looks like a Friday is your day if you want it pretty much all day. Tickets, get your tickets early. Tickets are available also online and are the same prices at the box office. So you don't save any money by ordering online, but you do save the lineups. Following Friday's home game, the Wolves hit the road to travel to Mississauga on Sunday to face another division rival, this time the Mississauga Steelheads at 2 p.m. Fans can follow the Wolves on the road by tuning into road games with live play-by-play right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. and fans can also watch the games on OHL Live. And the URL, you just have to kind of Google. It's a kind of an interesting link. So you got to Google Live Wolf Games OHL, and then you'll find the link there if you wanted to watch it. And I know Eastlink will be covering a certain amount of the games as well this year. But for more information, just go to SudburyWolves.com to find out all the latest, greatest on your Sudbury Wolves. We'll be back right after this. Right after this, actually. As soon as we cue it up. There we go. So that's the show for today. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Make sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all of that stuff. You can catch us at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to go like and share. It's a community conversation. We're just here for you. This is your conversation. And hopefully I can figure out this darn getting the comments up on the screen, because that's a great feature to have to include you in the conversation, other than me having to look over and read them. And it's not always at the greatest times either. Sometimes it's backtracking. So I apologize if I wasn't able to get some of your comments up or mention them today, because I couldn't get them up on the screen. But tomorrow is always a new day, and hopefully we'll be able to have that fixed and be able to have that feature going and adding to the show. So that's it for us today. It was a great conversation with Zach, who joined us earlier, Pierre. They'll be back again. Zach will be back tomorrow, and maybe a Nick as well. So we can have Zach and a Nick. I know Miles should be joining us on Friday. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the Wolves then, as he is a hockey guy, a sports guy in general, and a very knowledgeable all-around swell guy. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU, and we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow with all y'all. Thanks for joining us. See you same time, same place tomorrow. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.